Hello, my name's Rowan. This is gonna be my first YouTube video. I'm a little nervous. I've filmed videos before, but then I end up never posting them because I feel like a cringy mess. But we're gonna try and give it a start and see how it goes. Hi, I'm Rowan. I'm a makeup lover. I love music, love makeup, love clothes, love hippie shit, and you're just gonna be here and enjoy it. So today, I'm going to be showing you all of my eyeshadow palettes, which is a lot. I think I have right under 40, and I have 3 more coming. I have a little bit of a problem, but it's okay because we love color. So let's get started. I think I'm going to start with the palettes that I only have like one palette from. I think that's a good place to start. So I only have one Colourpop palette, that's all. Nope. Let's get started with the single palettes. I'm gonna move this stack so you can actually see what I'm doing. Alright, I'm actually going to start with my first high-end palette, which I don't even really use anymore. I just kind of keep it because it was my first high-end palette, and it's kind of, like, meaningful to me, you know? First high-end palette. You can tell it's going to be very beat up. This is my Tartlet in Bloom. I've hit pan on that shade broke, this shade broke. I traveled with this, like, so much when I was younger, like in middle school. To be honest, now that I've tried more formulas, I would say that this isn't a very good formula. I mean, the mattes are pretty good, but the shimmers are very lackluster, so I wouldn't recommend it now, just because there's been so many things that have come out that have been so much better. But I really like this palette, and I really enjoyed the time I had with it. I don't know if I'm going to keep it for very much longer, just because it's probably expired. It's probably 5 years old. But you know how makeup people are and how they keep their first palette in their little paws, you know? Like, they keep it forever. So, yeah, that's my first palette. Also one of my older palettes. This is my only Too Faced palette. I used to have, like, 5 Too Faced palettes. I used to have, like, 5 Tarte palettes, but you know what happens. This is my Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes. I got this recommended to me from Julia Mazzucato. She said this palette was great, and so I bought it, and I love it, and I love the smell, and I really love pairing this with fun shimmery shadows from one of my Juvia's Place palettes, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. I have 3 Juvia's Place palettes, so it's not going to be in this category, but I really love this palette. It's a great palette. They blend really nice. Don't really like the satin shade in here. There is one satin shade. Here, I'll show you. I shut it before I showed you. The shade Peach Sangria, so like this one down here is a satin. It's, I mean, I wouldn't use it just because I'm not a big satin fan. I either want mattes, shimmers, or glitter toppers. There's no in between. Well, not full-on glitter, but like, Nabla. You'll understand. The one that I got for my birthday this year was the She's in Parties from Melt. This is the only Melt palette I have. I'm very interested in Melt, but I'm gonna be honest, I have a lot of similar color stories that Melt already offers. Like, I was really into the Gemini palette, but there's another palette that I'm gonna talk about later that's very similar to the Gemini palette, so I just never snatched it. But this is the Melt She's in Parties. It's pretty, but I don't know if I'm a cool tone purple gal. I'm still trying to get used to it. I like the shimmers in it. I really like the shade Strange Love. It's a very pretty, like, lavender shimmer. But I kind of wish that there was another light shimmer to go with it, just because I'm not a dark shimmer person. Like, it's just not my thing. But everyone has their thing. So, yeah. So my another singular palette that I own from is Dose of Colors. This is the Dose of Colors Francation palette. Again, shout out to Julia Mazzucato for recommending this to me. And Paulina Beauty. Mine has been used. So the shade Just a Kiss is the best eye topper ever. If you ever have an eyeshadow that's like really lackluster, like super like not pigmented on the eye when it comes to shimmer, put this on top and it will just save your eye look. Like, it is so pretty. and I love the shimmers in here and the mattes. They all work well together. I kind of like pairing these two shades here, the green, Dirty Money, and then the blue, what's that called? A Moment. I like pairing those with other palettes just because when I use a colorful shimmer, I want to pair it with colorful mattes, if that makes sense. Like, I just don't like pairing neutral mattes with colorful shimmers. That's just my opinion, but this palette is really great if you like neutrals and if you want to get some pops of color. It's a good palette to start with. Now, my only Nabla palette, and I want all the Nabla palettes. Not really. I really want some of the cutie palettes. I really want the platinum and the coral, and I really want the new side to side palette, or side by side, or whatever it's called, new neutral palette that kind of looks like Soft Glam, which I have, but I kind of still want it because I love Nabla. And then I want the Dreamy too. But yeah, this palette is so good. I got it this summer, and this is a really awesome inner corner highlight. I'll swatch it for you. Like, it's so good. It's so good. It's like it has like a blue-green shift, and it's super pretty. I really like it. It's really fun. And then I just love the mauves in here. I really love mauves. So yeah, we're kind of going in order from when I got the palettes. Kind of strange. My palette I bought myself when I had a mental breakdown. You know, life, COVID. Mercury Retrograde. I really love this palette. I got it at the Sephora in the mall where I work, and it's so pretty. I really love this palette. Like, this is like becoming one of my favorites, like, ever. The shimmers are great, the mattes are great, everything is great. I don't know if this palette would work very well for people with deeper skin tones, which kind of sucks, but besides that, it is a great palette. I can't say it's not, even though it's not very inclusive. I think it could be more inclusive, but besides that, I think it's good. I'm gonna swatch something because I kind of have to with this palette. I'm gonna swatch over that blue shimmer because I didn't really stay. That gold. And that, like, mauve shade. It's so pretty. Like, they're so shimmery and pretty, and I just really love it, and it's really good to wear to work and on a daily basis. I mean, you can ask any of my coworkers. I sometimes wear a full-on neutral look, or I wear like neons. I would wear this eyeshadow look to work because I just don't care what people think about my eyeshadow because I love it. Shout out to Butte Bean for getting me into Ace Beauté. I got this palette for Christmas, and I love it. It is such a great green and blue palette. I've done a green look and I've done a blue look. I haven't done a combination yet, and I really want to. I'm really excited to start doing more combos with it. I did order the Flare palette, which I'm really excited about because that's like the palette that I really wanted from Ace Beauté, like severely, and I'm really excited about it. But yeah, the formula of this is really good. I know some people are weird about Ace Beauté's formula just because they're super pigmented, but if you use a light hand, tap off the brush, it's a good palette. It's a good palette for blues. And it's the only blue-green palette I have. But, well, I have another blue palette, but like, only like blue-green. Alright, so now let's get on to actual brands. Let's tackle Colourpop because that's a big category, and I'm gonna say something now. I rearrange almost all the Colourpop palettes I get, just because sometimes the color stories don't mix well together, and I like making my own color stories for fun. There's two palettes, there's three palettes I haven't rearranged, but besides that, all of these palettes I've rearranged. Let's start with the ones I haven't rearranged, just so you know. So I got these two for Christmas, which I really love them. They're really good for work for neutral days. I really love the Boudoir Noir. I love greens. I love green eyeshadow. I'm not a big fan of the pressed glitters, but I actually did use this pressed glitter, and it actually was really pretty, and it actually removed. Like, the thing that I struggled with so much with Colourpop's pressed glitters is, like, they would stay on my face for 3 days. Like, even with showers and everything, like, they just never came off. And then I got the Menage Moi, which is the partner palette to Boudoir Noir, which I love too. I love mauves, and it does have 2 pressed glitters, which aren't my favorite. I kind of wish it had some, these were shimmers, like one of them would be shimmer. I don't care if there's 1 pressed glitter, but I just preferably would prefer 1 shimmer. And then the old Colourpop palette that I haven't rearranged is Blue Moon. This is the only other Colourpop palette I haven't rearranged that's old, but I just think this palette is perfect the way it is. It's a great blue palette. I really love Lumi and Billie Jean. They're great shimmers. I really love Fine China as a matte blue. It's a really great blue palette. If you need a blue palette for cheap, I recommend Blue Moon. So now let's go on to my rearranged palettes, and you guys aren't going to recognize any of them because they're all different. So this is my peach palette. So it's in the Sweet Talk packaging, but this is like my summer peach palette. 1 shade is missing because it broke, but I don't really know what to replace it with, and I like everything that's in here. So this is my peach palette. There's a lot of different shades in here. There's shades from Baby Got Peach. There's shades from California Love and Sweet Talk. I took out all the pressed glitters just because I did not like the pressed glitter formula in this palette specifically. It just got all over your face, and it was really loose and not a good pressed glitter formula. But I love this palette. It's a great springy palette for peachy looks. You're gonna see my little stack over here. I should probably move that stack because it's gonna get big. All right, so this is my neutral with yellow palette. This is my Dream Street packaging, but it's my neutral yellow palette. Yes, you're gonna see some chips in some of them, but I really love yellow eyeshadows. This is a really good palette for me to travel with for neutral looks and yellow tone looks. I really love it. It's great neutrally yellow toned palette. This one's gonna look kind of bad because I broke. Oh, actually looks good right now. This is my purple palette. It's a mix of Lilac You a Lot and It's My Pleasure. I love this palette. The only thing that sucks is that when I was rearranging it, Mr. Sam had broken my It's My Pleasure palette, and I'm still scarred from it. Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. But it's okay. And then I have my Good Sport, which is like my grungy matte palette. So that's that. Then I kept on a honey yellow, but I took out the pressed glitter and put a chocolate brown. Oh, you can see me on my phone. My chocolate, and put a chocolate brown just so I could deepen up looks. And then with my Orangey Glad, I kept it orange. And I just put a peachy matte in there just for fun. And then my biggin. This is my travel palette. This is probably my favorite palette in my collection. It has like all of the colors that I would use if I were to travel. So it has my neutrals, it has cool tones and warm tones, yellows, oranges, purples, and greens, and berries. So these are like my favorite tones to do and favorite tones to put on my eyes. So I just put them all in here, and that's my little Colourpop ditty. So those are all my Colourpop palettes that I want to show. Like I have other ones, but they're kind of just singles of other Colourpop palettes I rearranged. But yeah, Colourpop. My next biggest brand is ABH, which I have 5 palettes from them. I'm just gonna go through them real quick. How about I go in order from when I got them, because that will be fun. So the first ABH palette I ever got, I got for Christmas from my grandma like 3 years ago. It's been very beat up. I didn't hit pan on any shades, but yeah. This is probably my least favorite ABH palette just because I don't like the shimmers very much in here. They're very lackluster and kind of sheer. But the mattes are really great. I mean, ABH mattes are just, you know, like, they're good. Like, they're really good. The next ABH palette I got was Soft Glam, which is probably one of my favorites neutral palettes ever. I hit pan on Tempura, and I'm about to hit pan on Rose Pink, about to hit pan on Orange Soda, about to hit pan on Fairy. I love this palette. I really love Mulberry. I love the mattes in here. It's just a really all-around good neutral palette, very diverse and inclusive, so I appreciate that. Next palette I got, which is another ABH palette I got from my grandma. I got this palette I got this 2019 from my grandma for Christmas. This is another one of my favorites. I love the shimmers in here. The shimmers are so good in this palette. But I love this orange. I know a lot of people think this orange is not needed in this palette, but honestly, it's really fun to pair with Dazzling in summer. It's really awesome. And I love the pinks and purples. Really, really cute. Then I have the Subculture palette, which I got from my best friend. She wasn't using it. She got it from TJ Maxx, so she gave it to me, and I love grungy tones, so yeah, I love this palette. And then the palette I'm wearing, Jackie Aina. I got this for Christmas, and I'm happy it came back because I wouldn't have gotten it if it hadn't. So let me explain my eye look to you a little bit. So first thing I started off was with Supreme, the pink shade over here, and I just put it in my crease. You can see it kind of on the outer part of the purple, and then I used Big Wig, and I kind of went underneath Supreme and just kind of blended it out, added more Supreme on top just to make like an ombre effect. And then I added Zam on the inner part of my eye, and I added Wiggleze on the outer part of my eye. And then I added a little bit of Credit to deepen it up. And then I put Soleil in my inner corner. And then I put Big Wig on my lower lash line, the same purple that's in my crease. So yeah, that's the eye look today. I really love this eye look. It's really fun. But I really love this palette. I really love Sponsored. I'm going to swatch Sponsored. I know everyone's seen swatches of this palette, but Sponsored is something else. Like, look at the duochrome, like, that, oh, if that angle looks red, that angle looks green. Like, I love those types of shades. They're so fun. But yeah, so that was my ABH section. I think the next section is going to be more indie. Yeah, I'm going to go for my indie palettes. I think we're going to go with Alter Ego. So, yeah, Alter Ego. So now let's get into Alter Ego. I have 3 palettes from our Alter Ego. 2 of them I rearranged. I haven't like switched shades from each palette, but I just made them more easy for me to use. There's like a fluffy. Did you see that? So this is the Temptress palette, and this is a dupe for the Sultry palette. I love this palette. This is my favorite cool tone palette. I just love it. It's very pretty. I did try to rearrange it, and this black completely shattered, but I'm just gonna leave it alone now. The world told me to leave it alone, so that's what I did. But this is a great palette. I know that Sultry came back, but honestly, a lot of people have said that I've watched said that this formula is better, so I'm just gonna stick with that. Then I have the Goddess, which is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Gold palette. I rearranged mine so the shimmers are here, except the blue matte, and then all the mattes are down here. I love this palette. I love the duochromes in here. They're really great. And then their newest palette that they released, the Artemis palette, which is a dupe for the Metropolis palette, which is a palette I've always wanted, so I had to get this. Like, it was just bound. So I rearranged mine so it's easier for me to use. I'm a little iffy on the cream to powder formula. It does take a lot of building, but it is a lot easier to blend than some mattes. They do have 3 mattes in here. These 2 transitions and that orange are all like true mattes, and then all the rest are creams and shimmers. I mean, I love this palette like for more like neutrally colorful looks, because the cream to powder mattes aren't as impactful as normal mattes. Like, here, I'm gonna swatch like the green cream to powder so you can see. So like, it is like very creamy and doesn't have any fallout, but it's easy to blend, but it is a kind of a sheerer formula. So if you're not into that, then I want to get it. Like, it's very different than Ace Beauté, like if you want to compare brands. So now let's move on to Juvia's. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with my favorite Juvia's Place palette, the Tribe. I think this is like everyone's favorite. I just love green, and these colors together are just so fun. I've done so many fun looks with this. It's such a good palette. I love these two shimmers. They both have a green shift to them. And if you remember me saying that I have a palette that I use the shimmers from a lot, that to go with the Just Peachy mattes, it's this palette. This is the Saharan 2. I love this as a highlight. This is a really good face highlighter. But yeah, these shimmers really go with that palette, like this peachy one, this red. I mean, I don't really pair the blues with it, but the blues are really good. I still use the blues sometimes. Probably my least favorite Juvia's palette. I know it's popular, but the Masquerade, it's just, I find the color story a little weird. There's a bunch of colorful shimmers, but there's nothing to pair them with. There's this matte and this pink, and you have more blue and green shimmers than anything else, and you get a pink and a purple. Like, okay. And then you have a bunch of neutral mattes, and all of these neutral browns look the same on the eyes, except this one. So, and then you get a couple bronzes. So, get it if you want it, but I wouldn't recommend it out of the 3 Juvia's Place palettes I have. Tribe is probably the #1 I would recommend, and then I would recommend Saharan too. But yeah, my Juvia's. I own both Persona Identity palettes. I love these palettes. They are some of the best formulas I have in my collection. So this is the Identity one. I love this palette. I love this shade right here called Bombshell. It's like a shimmery green color, and the mattes in here are so great. The magnet got magnetized to my necklace. That was kind of fun. So then this palette is the Identity 2. This shadow broke when it arrived, so I repressed it. Kind of looks funny. But to be real with you, a lot of these colors don't go together. Like, I love the shimmers in here and I love the mattes, but there has to be a couple more matte options. This shimmer sucks. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, this shimmer kind of sucks. Like, it's very not impactful. And then compare it to this yellow, like, yeah, you see what I mean? Like, it's very hit and miss. The Persona one is, I would recommend 100% over this one. I mean, I love the colors in here, but I feel like I go for this palette more for individual colors than I do to actually make an actual eye look. You know, like with all the colors in this palette. The black is really good, the matte brown's really good. But I go here for more one shade for certain looks. With the Persona Identity palette, I can do as many looks as I want just using this palette. Well, just neutral looks, but you get what I mean. The next brand on my list is Collidos, and I love this brand. I have their highlights, I have their blushes, I have 3 of their eyeshadow palettes, and I want to order the other 3 6 pans. I'm not a big fan of the color story of the Escape Pod, just not my thing. So, but this is the Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green, and this palette is the reason why I am not getting the Melt Gemini. And I've actually heard people say that the formula is better in this little palette than it will ever be in the Melt Gemini. I mean, this one doesn't grow mold. So, yeah. Then I have the Futurism 3 Astro Pink, which is really pretty. I love the shimmers in here. I definitely think we didn't need both of these mattes. They kind of look similar in the eyes. A lot of people said that. I'm not a big fan of matte black with glitter. Kind of just wish it was matte black, even though we have a matte black in the Sci-Fi Green. I just wish that it was a matte black. I mean, it's fun to use it as an eyeliner occasionally, like maybe for a New Year's type look. Hey, it's New Year's, so yeah. But the blue shimmer's great. This pinky shimmer's great. But whatever is up to you. And my earring's getting stuck on the magnet. I do that all the time. Okay, now let's move on to the last Futurism palette I have, which is probably my favorite. It's Futurism 5 Electro Turquoise. And I love that you have 2 different color stories in here. You can go with the blue route, or you can go with the orange route with the brown. And the blues go with the brown too. So, and I love this shade as an inner corner highlight. I use it all the time. Sometimes I just grab that palette just for the inner corner highlight. So yeah, that was my Collidos palettes. I think the last brand that we have to go through is Urban Decay. So stick with me. So I have 2 Urban Decay palettes, and these are them. I have, first palette I got from Urban Decay was the Born to Run palette, which I bought with my Christmas money a few years ago. And I honestly, like, really like this palette. Like, I know it gets a lot of mixed reviews. I mean, yes, there are some dud shades in here. I'm gonna be real with you. These two purple shades suck. Like, they suck. Don't use them. All the shimmers in here are great. Except this one. I love the oranges in here. This shade I could do without this black. I kind of wish there was like a brown that was in between this brown and this brown that was just in between them, you know, like a camel-y brown, you know. But I honestly think the formula of this is really good. I do think the shimmers are a little bit more lackluster than some other shimmers and other palettes, but if you just want kind of a more muted, grungy, colorful look, this is a great palette to reach for. Now, my favorite Urban Decay palette is the Naked Honey. I love this palette. This is like my favorite, like, neutrally palette right now, probably. Like, I wish in Born to Run it had like a matte like this, you know? Because, like, I would use that as a transition all the time. Like, these two transitions are so good in this palette. And the shimmers are so good. I think the one thing that this palette is missing is an inner corner highlight. I kind of wish they had an inner corner highlight in here, but they don't. I mean, occasionally I'll use this yellow as an inner corner highlight, but I would rather have something that's a little brighter, kind of like the one I have in my inner corners today. Just something like a champagne type thing. All right. I think that's it. I just showed you all of the eyeshadow palettes I own. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you the 3 that are coming in the mail. I told you that Flare is coming in the mail, which I'm super excited about. Same brand of Ace Beauté, so Ace Beauté palette. I have the Carnival 3 by Be Perfect coming in the mail because I recently got rid of my Jawbreaker palette and my Blood Sugar palette. So I wanted to get a rainbow palette to replace those palettes. I just don't want Jeffree Star in my collection, and I think you guys understand. I mean, I know people bought them for me, and I can keep them because I didn't use my money on them. I just don't want to see those palettes anymore. Like, I don't want to look at them. And honestly, the formula isn't as good as other formulas. I'm gonna be real. And then the other palette I got was the Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette because it was only $7, and a lot of my YouTubers that I watch rave about it, so I really want that palette, so I ordered it. So I'm really excited, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know I kind of have a crazy brain, but I hope you guys had fun, and I had fun with you guys, and I enjoyed showing you my eyeshadow palettes. So hope you have a good day.